Welcome to Home Hive. My name is Kristen Krebs. I am here with my amazing co-host, Jennifer Cortez. And today we are going to be talking to Meredith Stowers from Loan Depot. Welcome, Meredith.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. Thanks. How are you?
Good.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my husband and I constitute the Stowers mortgage team, and he's a branch manager with Loan Depot and been in the business for, 30 years and stuff. We actually met in college, and I got in because to help him out, because there's just so many people who you really help in this business, help get their finances together, their long-term real estate wealth together. And, the biggest source of wealth in America is not stocks. It's your home. So to me, that's exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Meredith, what's one of your favorite things about being in the mortgage industry for you and your husband?
Honestly, it's helping families get started on a really solid financial path, instead of wasting money on rent or, struggling, basically to achieve their goals. When you hear that, for example, that grandma is not doing so well, can we figure out how she can move in with us? Can we figure out, how to leave this house to our kids? All kinds of really cool goals that go way beyond financial and help keep families together.
Love that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to end up diving into some content and information specific that can help people get to those goals and to get people better financially prepared for their futures.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us on Home Hive today.
Absolutely.
So let's transition. So for Home Hive, for the majority of our content in which we share on Home Hive is real estate related. And we've been talking a lot on accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as ADUs or granny flats. So in talking about that and talking about, financing is a huge component to that, and being able to either buy a property that has an ADU on it or renovate or build an ADU on your property. So why are ADUs an attractive opportunity for baby boomers?
Particularly young baby boomers hit that time in the market where they no longer had access to pensions, and it was assumed that they would invest in 401ks, and frankly, not everybody did or does. And so they are coming into retirement without a lot of retirement savings, and they're going, geez, I don't want to work forever. But what they do have is a house that is largely paid off, if not totally paid off. We're also seeing baby boomers who are trying to stay close to their families, maybe taking care of the grandkids, that kind of thing. And ADUs solve a lot of those problems, where it allows a baby boomer to create a monthly payment, a monthly cash flow that would be similar to a pension payment. I mean, when you're getting a net income of $2,000, $3,000 per month on your little rental next door, and maybe that little rental is not a stranger, but maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's your kids and grandkids. So there's a lot of problems that ADUs solve. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up so many great points. They're super, super versatile. And with all the recent changes over the last couple of years, and obviously January 1 of 2020 here in San Diego, but really that also started at the state level, or came down from the state level, I should say. It's an incredible time. If you don't know about what ADUs are and why ADUs in our area, and really how they can work for you, for your finances, for your investment, and really for your future goals, the time is now to learn about them, especially because of all the different changes. So with regards to ADUs, the baby boomer generation, let's talk about financing. What are some financing options specific for the baby boomer generation? Either buy a property that has an ADU on it or could accommodate an ADU, i.e. meaning that you would build it, or renovate a space on the property. And or if you currently own a property and if you want to build or renovate an ADU on it, what are some financing options available?
So obviously, if you have a current property where you want to stay there and build an ADU, and some people are actually moving into those ADUs, you have cash out refinances, you have home equity lines as well. And any loan that's secured by real estate is going to be your lowest interest loan, as compared to, say, personal loans, which are not secured by any property or assets or anything like that. You can do loans against, your 401k and stuff, but not many people have that much in the way of assets. So using your home to create the construction budget to do this creates that monthly cash flow that makes a lot of sense. And we go over those numbers. So a lot of boomers are doing that on their current house, but others are saying, you know what, I really don't want to live in this place, or it's not suitable, or it's not achieving my goals. And they will go buy a home with a goal of adding the ADU, maybe for a renter or for a family, and doing that. And that's a great option as well. What's really exciting to me beyond those traditional mortgage tools is we have something called renovation loans. And renovation loans are like construction loans in that they're based on future value. So quite literally, we provide our appraisers with the contractor bid and the designs, and the appraiser goes out and says, oh, I see what you're going to build. This will be the future value. And on an owner-occupied property, we can lend up to 95% of that value. So that gives you if you don't have all this equity, it gives you the funds to create that construction budget, even on a purchase. Yeah.
I love all the different opportunities and avenues that people can explore when looking to finance these kinds of projects.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you had any experience with like a 1031 exchange at all with like an ADU? Is that even an option for people?
It is. If you're selling your house and you're bringing that equity into the new house, absolutely. It goes from one to the other. We're not seeing big tax hits on that, and actually quite the opposite, because when people are partnering with their kids and going in on the renovation mortgage with their kids to build that ADU and build essentially which is like a family compound. Like you think of the Kennedy compound in Massachusetts, right? And it's all these different homes. Well, you're essentially creating your own family compound, right? Where the kids can run around in the yard between the grandparents' house and the parents' house and maybe auntie's house or whatever. And that's a cool thing. So it just provides a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. I love that we're changing the atmosphere of how families interact with one another by adding an ADU. Grandparents are now closer to their grandkids. They get to have a better relationship that actually extends the life of grandparents. Sometimes, it's a really cool opportunity to be able to really not only bring together families in a financial sense, but also in a personal sense. For the literally next door.
And historically, financially, families are far more resilient when you pool the resources of multi-generational families and build wealth for future generations. Absolutely far more financially resilient. Again, you think about grandma might have a great credit score and she might have equity or cash to buy a new property, but the adult kids are struggling just to put food on the table. They've got income from their jobs, but they maybe don't have a great credit score and they don't have a down payment. It fits perfectly.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing. I love it. So what should baby boomers keep in mind when preparing to look into an ADU opportunity? What can they do to be prepared when they go to look for financing for these?
Absolutely. I think obviously taking a look at your credit score, it's not just the score itself. We're looking at the debt to income ratio and in literal technical terms, the ability to repay. And if you don't have the ability to repay, or even if you do, look at partnering up with people on the mortgage to ensure you do have that financial resiliency and you're not going all on the hook for that. It can be a great opportunity too, that if you have your kids on the mortgage, it becomes an easy probate thing. So you're automatically transferring the tax basis. It makes a fluid consistency when you when you eventually pass away. The other thing too you want to look at, and Kristen, you've been super involved in this, is aging in place. If you're going to renovate the property and you're doing this for the long term, particularly for your retirement, for heaven's sakes, look at aging in place options. I heard from somebody that the number one way that seniors get hurt is by falling and grabbing like a towel rack or a toilet paper thing. And those are not stable, but there's beautiful new products and new design techniques to create an ADU that is perfect for aging in place. And there's other benefits to ADUs and aging in place too. For example, some families, when they have grandma come to live with them, they can benefit from in-home support services. It is cheaper for the state to have you take care of grandma than it is for the state to pay Medi-Cal and Medicare and all that stuff. So some families have the cost of their ADU being paid for by that IHSS check. And it works out great for everybody.
Oh, I never even thought about that. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So it just, it's not something you rush into, and it's not a push button get mortgage thing. It is a very collaborative thing that starts with, what do I dream of? Where do I want to be in 10 years? When you start with that vision, everything falls together.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
It's so powerful. And having these opportunities, and maybe, whether you're just finding out about this now or whether you've heard about an ADU over the last couple of years, now is the time really to align yourself with the different professionals who are working within this space, in this industry, and have experience with ADUs. And we say that because the laws, the regulations have changed frequently over the last couple of years. So you want to be working with a professional that is aware of what those changes are and currently aware of what the new laws are and how that just increases the different opportunities for us to build them and to develop them, and then either to house family or to rent it out or to move out of your primary and then to live in your ADU. And that's why working with professionals such as Meredith and her husband is really important. Also, the financing piece, I want to touch upon this quickly, is that what we've heard multiple stories about consumers going through the process and either thinking that they already qualify and or being misled in the fact that ADUs, because they're tiny, because they're smaller, that they're like, okay, they must just be so much cheaper. This is great. We can do this. And they actually seem to skip over the financing piece, skip over connecting with the financial professionals that can actually validate whether they're ready right now or that they have to get a few more things into place. And then also maybe set the expectation and or reset the expectation of really how much an ADU costs, whether you're building it ground up or whether you're renovating a space to actually be an ADU. And that's why you want to connect with you want to connect with a lender who, again, as a reminder, who has actually had experience with ADUs. And you want to connect with them in the beginning. Don't go through the entire process. Don't pay other professionals such as an architect or drafter, and then come to find out that you don't put the permits, all this in. Don't go through that part of the process and then figure out that you may not be lined up for financing right now. But also then don't disqualify yourself either. In sitting down actually with Meredith's husband and with their team, is you can find out, okay, if I can't do this right now, that doesn't mean that's a no forever. Right.
You're absolutely right. And you nailed it. And you want to have somebody who's going to resolve the options, up front. A lot of people, you're right, assume that they have the equity in their home. So here's the trick. I can only lend up to 80% of loan to value. So if your house is worth $700,000, I can only lend up to $540,000, right? So if you already have a loan of $400,000, then the only equity I can lend on is $140,000. And most people are shocked that that's generally not enough to build an ADU. And it is a balance between like sticker shock and cost and all that, right? Like I have no idea how much a Lexus costs, but I know I can afford those $200 a month payments, and that might make sense. I'm sure I would be shocked and appalled at how much a car costs these days. So looking at those, I am no contractor. God help anybody who thinks I am. But a typical ADU in San Diego County is about $200,000, and everywhere else in the state is about $250,000. That's okay, because a $200,000 ADU, when financed, is about $884 a month. And you're probably going to rent that out for at least $2,000. So you have about $1,100 in cash flow coming in. So it's really not about the sticker. It's about the cash flow. And for people who are upset, oh, it shouldn't cost that much. Yeah, you're putting an entire new construction house onto a postage stamp. Imagine looking at KB Homes and Lennar or any of the, new tract home builders, because that's essentially what you're getting is an entire house like that. It's just smaller. Yeah. Where else can you buy a house in California for $200,000? Nowhere.
Right.
So there is a balance. And when you start to look at cash flow from that perspective, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Well said. Extremely well said, Meredith. It's 100% right.
Yeah. So what else can I answer? Yeah. You guys are doing a great job bringing education out there. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Well, if people want to reach out to you, where do they go? Where should we send them?
Absolutely. You can call or text me anytime at 619-520-1018. We've also got a great website with an ADU estimator called grannyflat.loans. That's grannyflat.loans. And there is actually a little calculator that is based on data we took from contractors across the state, rental data, and so on, that'll give you a rough estimate, not an exact estimate, but a rough estimate of the cost in your area, the rent in your area, and what you can expect with your final return on investment. A lot of good stuff.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know you had the calculator. That's going to be so exciting to be able to use.
Yeah.
At least now we're going to get accurate numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It's not perfect, but I mean, everybody thinks that their yard is going to be easy. It's going to only cost $10,000, right? Because you can buy these things on eBay, right? Sure. God help anybody who buys a house on eBay.
or I think even Amazon's now offering something like that too, which, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's a good question. Yeah. So, yeah.
Anyway. Fantastic. Well, thank you. So do you want to give any social media out or anything like that? Or you want to just kind of send them directly to that website?
Yeah, come directly to the website. We're also on the ADU Coalition Facebook page and so on. And Michael Stowers and I are on Instagram and Facebook as well. We're always putting out new data on what's happening in the lender world because our rules are changing too, all for the better. So we're happy to keep you posted.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.